Anybody want to ask any questions before we begin? Because otherwise we're going into Chapter 3 and we're going to try and really plow ahead. No questions? All right. Annie, say where we are, where you're starting.
Page 61, second paragraph. Other languages do not have this rule. For example,
51?
61.
61. Okay, I heard 50. Go ahead. Yeah.
I'm Annie.
Yeah.
Other languages do not have this rule. For example, it is a mark of speakers with an Italian accent.
Italian.
Accent, at least as
At. Was it at?
At least as caricatured in.
Think of the word that I corrected a long time ago. Character. Characterize. This one's very similar.
Caricatured.
There you go.
Caricatured in.
No, I don't say cat. I say care.
Caricatured in films and on television that they release all their final stop consonants. All their final stop consonants, producing an extra vowel at the end, as they normally would in their own language.
Okay, try not to put a glottal stop in would. It should be would.
Would.
Yeah.
Would in their own language. Authors trying to indicate.
Authors.
Good. Authors trying to indicate an Italian-speaking English will write the sentence, "It's a big day," as "It's a bigger day." They are presumably trying to indicate the difference between the normal "It's a big day" and the foreign accent, "It's a bigger day."
Very good. This will probably be in the test. Pay attention. If you release your voice stops, and other stops as well, then it sounds like you have what? If you release your stops, you say big instead of big. How does that sound to a speaker of English? It sounds like it is being spoken with a foreign accent, 对不对？是有外国口音、外国腔的。So please make sure that, remember that it's probably going to be on the test. So if you speak like this, you sound Italian, it's very easy. It's a big day. That's what you have to add the 动作 too. So if you release the stops, that's usually what you will find in films when they're trying to caricature. What does caricature mean? Does it mean that it's very, very 道地? It just means 好像画个卡通人物，这是意大利人. That's one thing that they will do to just mark that that's supposed to be in Italian. So releasing stops makes English sound like it's being spoken with a foreign accent. Next.
Vivian, it is interesting that words such as rap, rat, rack are all distinguishable. Are all distinguishable, even when the final consonants are unreleased.
And everybody please watch this one. This one's really hard to catch in Taiwan English because it's a habit you brought over from Mandarin. Remember 万一 instead of 万一. You shouldn't bring that to English. It's okay in Chinese. It's not only okay, it's the way you should do it. But if you have a final N and then you've got a glide in the next syllable, or whatever is in the next syllable, make sure that final N is actually pronounced with alveolar contact. So in other words, it should be pronounced as unreleased. I remember early in the semester I mentioned this. Anybody remember? Whenever you see an N at the end of a syllable, give yourself a little extra reminder because it's something you do automatically in Mandarin. You bring it over to English unconsciously. You don't even think about what you're doing because you're not aware of it in Mandarin. 你国语你这样念，你根本没有感觉. Everybody does it. It's correct in Mandarin. But then 因为没有感觉，你不知不觉带到英文来就是不对. So we don't say unreleased. And I was speaking with my British teacher yesterday, and I said, well, can you understand what I'm saying? I said, 1 year. He said, say it again. I said, 1 year. He said, I can't quite hear it. What is it? I said, 1 year. He said, it sounds like Chinese. 对，他认为这是中文. 1 year. It should be 1 year. Now, we were speaking over the phone through Skype, so that's part of the reason it wasn't clear. When you're speaking over the phone, you're missing a lot of information. But I repeated it maybe 5 or 6 times. He still didn't understand it. So that reminds you, you really need those final ends. Please do not neglect them. Everyone, unreleased. Unreleased. Good, go on.
The difference in the sounds must therefore be in the way that the vowels end.
That
the vowels end.
Okay.
After all, the rest is silence.
Good, it's correct, but remember to link. Everyone, after all.
After all.
Good.
The consonants before and after a vowel always affect it. So there is a slight but noticeable difference in its quality. In its quality.
Okay, put in your notes, you need to remember linking. If you link, you'll fix a lot of little problems. Okay?
Compare your pronunciation of words such as pick, pip, tit, kick. Your tongue tip is up throughout the word tit. Whereas in pip...
Whereas, can you link?
Whereas in pip and kick, it stays behind the lower front teeth.
Okay, don't say peep. Peep is P-E-E-P. Peep is the sound little chicks make. It also means tokan. This is pip. Pip, right?
And in kick, it is... In kick,
right.
It is the back of the tongue.
It is the back of the tongue. 对比, right? 汤是讲过了. It is the back of the tongue.
It is the back of the tongue.
Not of.
Of the tongue.
Right, yeah.
That is raised throughout the word.
Throughout.
Throughout.
You can link here. We've got vowels here. U plus a vowel. How do we link when we've got U or U plus a vowel? I hear a lot of mumbling. What should it be? It's a very slight linking sound, but we have it, and it makes your pronunciation sound smoother. If it's U or U, we have a little W, and we've got a vowel here. So throughout. Instead of saying either throughout, and sometimes when you say throughout, they have a false tap. And a similar rule says that after E or I, going to a vowel, we use what? Y as a little tiny y as a linking sound. So that's an extra thing that you have to think about when you're reading. I know you're dividing your attention among a lot of different things, but this is the class where we do that kind of thing. So just kind of push yourself to remember all these things, all these rules throughout. Everyone, throughout the word. Very good.
Throughout the word. And in pip, the tip gestures affect the entire vowel. The same is true for words with voiced consonants, such as bip, dit, gig. The consonant gestures are superimposed on the vowel in such a way that their effect is audible throughout much of the syllable.
Well done. You read beautifully. I think the one thing you really need to watch out for is linking. The rest is really quite good. What are they talking about here? Rap, rat, rap. Those final stops are not very clear if they are unreleased. We found that out early in the semester when we were doing dictations. The first dictation, when I didn't release the final consonants, that was really tough, wasn't it? It's really hard to hear them. We can't really hear a consonant at the end because it is unreleased. And after the consonant is silent, so we really cannot hear anything. What do we rely on to try and distinguish those three words? The vowel will change slightly because of what? The tongue, right. What about the tongue? What about the tongue? It will be in a different place to prepare for each final consonant. Is that right? So it'll be on the alveolar ridge to get ready for the T. It'll be against the soft palate to prepare for the K. That is going to change the vowel quality somewhat. Not a lot. They're quite subtle changes. But in the absence of a clear final consonant, we need to sensitize our ears to those little tiny micro changes to help us understand, because sometimes we don't have a lot of context to help us. And as we learned at the beginning of the semester, Taiwanese students in general, they rely hugely on context, just like race and raise. 看语境，他们就不太管那个母音的长度或者 s 有没有带音。They're mainly relying on context, and context can really fool us sometimes because there may be clues that you miss because you're not familiar with them, and then you will get the wrong word. So taking a phonetic approach will increase your understanding greatly. So I'm going to say them a few times. I just want you to listen carefully. You can look up and see the final consonant because you probably won't be able to hear it well. You'll at least be able to see the P, and then you'll be able to see that it's not P, either T or K. So listen a few times, and then close your eyes and see if you can hear a difference between the vowels in the three words. Ready? Rap, rat, rack, rap, rat, rack. Close your eyes. Rap, rat, rack. Can you hear a difference or not, or do they sound the same to you? Be honest. You're not going to get any points taken off either way. They sound the same? Right. It is really difficult. The differences are extremely subtle. But this is telling you that this is something that you will need to work on because native speakers have to be able to do this. We often don't hear that final consonant clearly. When will we hear it clearly? Can you give an example of a situation where we will hear it clearly? If the next word starts with a vowel, right. That's why linking is so important. That's one of the reasons. If the next word starts with a vowel, then we are going to hear that final consonant clearly in most situations. For example, rappa or rappa, rata, raka. Now we hear it clearly, right? So, first of all, linking is important. And second, if you don't have a word that starts with a vowel after it, you need to start sharpening your ears to hear the difference in the vowels. Okay, listen again. Rap, rat, 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 rap. Does it sound like I'm saying the same word over and over? Or do they sound a little different now? A bit different? Some of you are noticing the differences. You need to practice with this. You can find audio files online. The dictation exercises have some similar exercises. Everyone knows the dictation practice page, right? You can find some examples there that will help you. You can also use Merriam-Webster. You can copy their files, their audio files. You can use Audacity or another recording program and copy the files and practice. So, the real difference is in the vowels. Let's try another set of three words. Hip, tit, kick. The PTK at the beginning are clear, but the final stops may not be so clear. Just listen a few times. Pip, tit, kick. Pip, tit, kick. Can you tell the difference in the final stops? And let's see. It's also true of final words with voiced final consonants, like bib, did, gig. In the case of gig, we have an extra clue. What is it? Bib, did, gig. Look at my face, you can see it. Bib, did, gig. We've got velar raising. So G is going to be easier to hear due to velar raising. If the person has it. Not everybody has it, but a lot of us do have it. So bib, did, gig. At least if there's a final G and there's a short front vowel before it, you will be able to hear a clear difference. So, for example, pack, but gag, gag. If there were a word gack, it would be gack, gag, gack, gag. 还差蛮多. For the ag, you can hear pretty clearly that that's a G at the end. Let's continue.
I'm Bella. The sounds p, t, k are not the only voiced stops that occur in English.
That occur?
That occur.
Right. Two things to watch out for. What are they? Occur is the citation form. We've learned about citation forms, right? What's the citation form? What is the citation form? Bella, can you tell us?
The way you show a person how to pronounce a word.
You could say it that way. It's the form in isolation. It's the idealized pronunciation of the word in isolation as the citation form. Occur is a citation form. Usually we use a schwa, occur. That's the first point. The second point is linking. And then the third point, which I didn't mention originally, is we've got a T there, so it becomes a tap. So you've got three things there that affect that little phrase there. So instead of that occur, it's that occur.
That occur. Many people also pronounce a glottal stop in some words. A glottal stop is the sound, or to be more exact, the lack of sound that occurs. That occurs when the vocal folds are held tightly together.
Tightly. Not tight.
Tightly together, as we have seen. As we have seen. The symbol for a glottal stop is
question mark without a period or without a dot.
Resembling a question mark without a dot.
All right, question.
Question.
Right. There's a funny pronunciation of question, popular in Taiwan. Don't round your lips too much for the ch. Everyone, question. That sounds good. Question. Okay. It says, to be more exact, the lack of sound. A glottal stop is just a closing of the glottis, so we really hear nothing. We'll hear an and there's nothing after that. Go on.
Julia. Glottal stops occur whenever one coughs.
Whenever one coughs.
Whenever one coughs.
One is a shitsu, okay?
You should be able to get the sensation of the vocal folds being pressed together.
Being pressed together.
Being pressed together.
Not pressed. Everyone, look. Pressed. You have to do this or it doesn't come out right. Everybody get your hand ready. Pressed. Perfect. Good.
Being pressed together by making small coughing noises.
Small coughing noises. Okay. Everybody make some small coughing noises. There we go. You're using your glottis to make those noises.
Next, take a deep breath and hold it with your mouth open.
With your mouth open, yeah.
Listen to the small plosive sound. Plosive. Plosive sound that occurs. Sound.
Right.
That occurs. That occurs when you let the breath go.
All right, let's do that. Take a deep breath. Hold your breath, and then listen to that little pop that you hear when you let your breath go. So, that's a glottal stop. Okay?
Now, while breathing out through your mouth, try to check and then release the breath by making the releasing a short glottal stop. Then do the same while making a voice sound, such as the vowel ah. Practice producing glottal stops between vowels, saying ah or e, so that you get to know what they feel like.
Right, except that I didn't hear any glottal stops. How do we do it? Listen. Ah, e, etc. So let's practice some glottal stops first with and e, a, oo. Ooh, there we go. We can all make glottal stops. Continue.
Okay, Stanley. One of the most common
don't say most. You're sounding Italian today.
One of the of the most common occurrences
Good.
of a glottal stop of a glottal stop is in the utterance, meaning no, often spelled it
Good. I'm just saying yes. I'm saying yes. You did it right.
Okay.
Okay.
If someone asks you a question, you can reply no by saying usually with a nasalized vowel, which we will symbolized letter.
All right, let's not do it later. I've already told you, and I'll just remind you again. We symbolize a nasalized vowel with a tilde. It's called a tilde from Spanish tilde, because they use it in Spanish for words like mañana. And that's just a palatalized N, 恶化的 N. That means there's a y sound together with the N, nye, nye. Everyone, nye. This is also used a lot in Hakka. So if you know anything about Kejiahua, you're going to need this symbol. This is a tilde. Here it means nasalization. Here it means palatalization. In Spanish, it's used to have a different meaning. The word for tomorrow is mañana. Oh, looks really funny. Mañana. Mañana. Everyone? Mañana. Mañana. And it's called a tilde, but here it's used for nasalization. So it's and we'll put a little stress mark here, and then it comes out about right. Everyone, this one's also, no, we don't need a glottal stop there. Okay.
Note that there is a contrast between the utterance meaning no and that meaning yes. That is dependent on the presence of the glottal stop.
Dependent on the what?
Depend on the presence.
Presence, right.
Presence of the glottal stop. If you had meant to say yes, you might well have said uh-huh.
Right. They should have put the stress mark on the second syllable, not the first. It's not uh-huh, it's uh-huh. Uh-huh. And it's also probably nasalized. Uh-huh. Also nasalized.
You can tell that it is the glottal stop that is important to conveying in conveying that meanings by the meanings
right.
by the fact that one could be understood equally well by using a syllabic
right.
consonants. Consonant.
Okay, don't say kang. Everybody watch out. Consonant with days. Consonant.
Consonant.
Right.
Shown by putting the mark under the consonants instead of a vowel and saying for yes.
Again, the stress should be on the second syllable.
For yes and for no. As long as there is a glottal stop between the two syllables, the utterance will mean no, irrespective of what vowels or nasal is used.
That's right. So, you could do it without a nasal, but it sounds like you have a cold. We almost always nasalize it. I listened to a conversation of my father on the phone many years ago. The whole phone call was, yeah, That went on for about 20 minutes. Not kidding, that's all he said. So when I see this, I always think of my father. All right, so, and the negative is, Remember that the stress is different. And, And then we could use a different nasal and it wouldn't matter. So if for some reason you just happen to produce a velar nasal, that's fine too. Velar nasal is fine. So, Alveolar is okay too. We do that sometimes. I've heard those and I've made them myself and I think they're fine. So that's why he says regardless of what nasal. Okay? And I don't know if I've asked before, but what does this mean? We have and but what does this mean? Okay, whoever just said it, be quiet. How about the rest of you? What does it mean? No, it doesn't mean maybe. Somebody already shouted out the answer. Not shout out, just quietly said the answer, but I was really surprised the first year I discovered that this was not universal. I thought everybody knew what it was. But people who've been studying English for many years, and at least in the past, nobody in the class knew it. And I said, well, did you ask around and find out? They said, no, what is it? Please tell us. So even after a week, one person did ask a native speaker and got the answer. Some languages use whistling because they're tone languages. And you can understand what people are saying just by their whistles of the tone patterns. This is one case where we use humming of the intonation of a short sentence. And it's understood by every English speaker, I bet. You think this one's better or that one's better? I don't know. So there you go. That's a really good one. Try it out on your friends. Don't give them too many clues. Okay, so is I don't know. You can do that completely with a bilabial nasal. I do this. This can go a little lower. There. This one's not too pretty, but that's how it is. The tone mark is about here. I just use, these are tone letters, so tiny tone marks. So everybody, that's how I would write it. In the absence of some other system that we're using for marking intonation. Any other questions? Let's go on.
I'm Vivian. Glottal stops frequently occur as allophones of t. Probably most Americans and many British speakers have a glottal stop followed by a syllabic nasal in words such as beaten, kitten, fatten.
Perfect. Did you all hear her? Absolutely perfect. Everyone, beaten, kitten, fatten. Perfect. Okay.
London Cockney and many forms of estuary.
Learn this word because we talk about it fairly often. Estuary. That's when a river is going down towards the sea, and then there's this delta, the 三角洲那个地区，那个叫 estuary. That's an estuary. The water's in that area. Estuary English is young people's English in Britain now. Remember I've mentioned that a lot of Brits now say building. They don't pronounce the L's. And 1, 2, 3 instead of 1, 2, 3. Those are features of estuary English. People under, say, 40 or 35 years old, many Brits now speak like this with estuary English. Some of them with a really strong estuary English accent, some with just some features. So it's a continuum. Okay?
Estuary English also have a glottal stop between vowels, as in but, kit, fat.
Beautiful. Good.
Many speakers in both Britain and America have a glottal stop just before final voiceless stops in words such as rap, rat, rack.
Excuse me, and we did talk about that before. We're having a lot of things repeated because now he's going through what again? We've already gone through the phonemes of English. In this chapter, we're focusing on the... Don't forget to pay attention to chapter titles. Remember I told you right at the beginning of the semester? What are we focusing on in this chapter? Consonants. So we're repeating a lot of information we had, but we're offering more detail. That's what we're doing. And then in the next chapter, we'll do the same thing again with vowels, right? So we mentioned before that a lot of people have a kind of creak before the final stop or at the same time as the final stop. So instead of saying rap with no creak, rap, many people say rap, rap. 已经到了 glottal stop, and they produce a P at the same time. That's what they're talking about here. Rap, rap. Try it. Rap. Try to go down to your creak. If you forgot where your creak is, then say wah, wah. Yeah, rap. So it's come to a halt. You're creaking, and then the creaking comes to a halt. It gets slower. It stops, and you also make a P at the same time. Okay?
Usually, the articulatory gesture for the other stop is still audible, so these words could be transcribed rat, rat, rack. When Peter Ladefoged recorded the word mat for figure 3.3,
3.
he pronounced it as.
Can you link? Pronounced it.
He pronounced it as mat, with the glottal stop and the closure for to occurring almost simultaneously.
Good. Simultaneously is American, simultaneously is the British. So they're both fine, but now let's be consistent. And mat. I think I do both, and it does not matter to me at all. It depends on how creaky I'm feeling. If I'm not creaky, mat, there's no creak at all there. There's no glottal stop at all. But if I'm down in my creak range, mat. It's on the mat. It's very possible I'll put that in. So this, for me, I don't know if it's in free variation, but it's an allophone, and it doesn't really make any difference to me either way. I just mentioned free variation. What does that mean? Sometimes a feature occurs in free variation. That means you can say it or you cannot say it. It really doesn't matter. People go back and forth. They say both. New and new. They're almost in free variation for me. I don't use student, but for new and new, I use new quite a bit, and new as well. So in theory, something can 自由出现. Either this one or that one doesn't matter. But in practice, usually there is some kind of conditioning factor. That means 有某一种条件会使得我们用这个而不用那个. Okay, Labov. He studied things like this. Why certain groups pick one kind of realization, one allophone in a certain situation, or why they picked another one. Or maybe one social group picks one and another social group picks another. Or under certain circumstances, if you're feeling kind of formal, you use one, less formal, you use another. There may be all kinds of different reasons. His point is that things do not usually really happen in free variation. We almost always have some kind of motivation for choosing one over the other. So in choosing between new and new, which one sounds more formal? New. New is more formal for me. Although when I use it, sometimes it's not in a formal situation. I just say it. So I don't really know when I say new and when I say new. I'd have to record myself and then analyze it because I use it without thinking. But the point is that we have this term free variation. That means either one is fine. We can use either one. But in practice, there usually is a reason why you choose one in this situation and a different one in another situation. Let's continue.
Jamming. Practice producing words with and without a glottal stop.
Glottal stop. Oh.
Glottal stop.
Okay.
After you have some awareness of what a glottal stop feels like.
Feels like?
Try saying the words rap, rat, rack in several different ways. Begin by saying them with a glottal stop and a final release. Rat, rat, rack.
Everybody try. So glottal stop plus a p plus a final release. Rap, rat, rack. Try. Okay, don't make it too smooth. You need a glottal stop in there. Rat, at. Go down to your creak. Rat. Okay, good enough. Go ahead.
Next, say them without.
Say them without. Say them without. Say them without.
Say them without a glottal stop and with the final stops unexploded.
What's Right.
Unexploded. Rap, rat, rack.
Everybody? All together, please. 1, 2, 3. Good.
Then say them with a glottal stop and a final unexploded consonant. Rap, rack, rat.
Rap, rat, rat. So we've got a glottal stop, but no release here. Go ahead. Everybody, 1, 2, 3. Okay, put that creak in there. Okay.
Finally, say them with a glottal stop and no other final consonant. Red, red, red.
All right, that's how it sounded when I first read 3 different words. They all sounded the same, but now they are the same. There's no final PTK, there's only a glottal stop. Go. Good.
Amy, when a voiced stop and a nasal occur in the same word, as in hidden, the stop is not released in the usual way. Both the d and the n are alveolar consonants. The tongue comes up and connects the alveolar and connects the the tongue comes up and contacts.
Right, and note this is contacts. We don't say contact. It's contact, even as a verb. And contacts.
And contacts the alveolar ridge for the alveolar ridge for d, and stays there for the nasal, which becomes syllabic.
Syllabic.
Hidden.
Good.
Consequently, as shown in Figure 3.4, the air pressure built up behind the stop closure.
Stop closure.
Stop closure is released through the nose by the lowering.
Pause before 介系词 is released through the nose. Right.
By the lowering of the soft palate, the velum, for the nasal consonant. This phenomenon, known as nasoplosion, is normally used in pronouncing words such as sudden, leaden. It is considered a mark of a foreign accent to add a vowel. Sudden, leaden. The nasoplosion also occurs in the pronunciation of words with t, followed by d,
Yeah.
as in kitten, for those kitten, for those people who do not have a glottal stop instead of the t, but the majority of speakers of English pronounce this word with a glottal stop. Kitten.
Right. I didn't hear you.
Kitten.
Yeah. All right. You see it in bold, right? You see the words in bold. That means that they're going to be in the test. I can promise you they will be on the test. Nasoplosion. We've got 2 different situations here. One is T plus N, one is D plus N. Let's start with D plus N because that's a clear-cut case of nasoplosion. Most of you probably say hidden, leaden, sudden, sadden. It's perfectly correct. There's nothing wrong with it. And it says it's a mark of a foreign accent to pronounce that vowel, that schwa between the D and the N. But this is not a serious problem in foreign accents. So it's much worse to say, it's a big day. I mean, that one's really obvious. But hidden, leaden is perfectly fine. If you don't want to fix it, it's okay. It's not going to stick out too much. It will stick out a little bit, but it's not serious. 同时, this is phonetics class, so let's learn how to do it the way most people do it. And that is with nasoplosion. You make the D, and there's no vowel at all, and your tongue does not let go. That's the key to it. So where do you put your tongue to make the D? On your alveolar ridge. Now, when we make a stop, remember the rule is we have to have what behind the contact between the 2 articulators? What do we have to have behind that contact? Increased air pressure, is that right? We've got increased air pressure. And here we've got hid, right. Now, we're going to go from the D to the N. To make an N, the air has to come out of where? The nose. So the key to making this sound, and a lot of people have trouble with it at first, they practice it, and then they'll run into me on campus and say, Miss Chung, listen, hidden. I did it. Usually on a bicycle. It's happened more than once. They come up to me on a bicycle, and then I have this conversation. And I go, that's great, that's wonderful. Because it really is a tengjiu. If you weren't able to do it before, and you can do it now. So please work on this if you don't already know how to do it. So hid. Now normally, if we're going to release an oral stop, where do we release it? From where do we release it? Orally. We let down the tongue, and the air comes out over the top of the tongue. It's a central oral stop, right? So let's try releasing it orally. Hidden. Between the D and the N, we have what? A schwa. Hidden. And that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But usually, it's hid. Now, what are we going to do with that air pressure? It has to go somewhere. We're not going to release it orally. It's already come all the way to the tip of the tongue, and we're going to send it back. 改道, and it's going to come out of that's how nasal plosion works. So say hid, but then don't let your tongue down, and then push the air back so it comes out through your nose, and then release the n. Okay, I'll perform it so you can hear how it should sound. Hidden, hidden. My tongue is not moving. Hidden. Hid, not hidden, you have to voice it. Hidden is almost right, but you need to voice it. Hidden. Hidden. Voice. Hidden. Not hidden, you're not voicing it. That's the problem. A lot of students had this problem. You can say 小猫咪 with no problem then. Kitten. 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 That's perfect, but we have to voice it. Hidden. I still hear hidden. 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 Practice that one. Put it in your notes. Practice it. I'm going to ask you on Monday about nasal plosion. Hidden. Let's try a couple more. Sudden. Not sudden. Sudden. Sadden. Leaden. Not leaden. Some of you are getting it, but a lot of you are not voicing it. So put in your notes that you need to work on voicing. Listen to it online. Just go to Merriam-Webster or someplace where you can hear it. Leaden, sudden, hidden, sadden. 都是同一个方式. For kitten, it's less of a problem. But he's saying that it's only nasal plosion if it's really a T. Kitten, kitten. Then it's a nasal, an example of nasal plosion. But if there is no T there, it doesn't count as nasal plosion. It's just a glottal stop. Kitten. Kitten. Just a glottal stop, no T. Kitten. Kitten. That's just a glottal stop. But if you have a T, kitten, then it counts as nasal plosion. Did you get that? So T and D are a little different. T because you can replace it with a glottal stop. You can't replace D with a glottal stop. So there you can only get nasal plosion. Otherwise you get an extra vowel hidden. All right, let's take a break. We just talked about nasal plosion. Remember with D and N, it's a clear-cut case, hidden, leaden. Practice that one. Make sure it's down in your notes. I want you to practice it so you can learn how to say it. So you know not only what it is in theory, but you can actually produce it. Leaden, hidden, sadden, etc. The next two paragraphs are about T plus N. And it discusses whether you're using a glottal stop or glottal stop plus T, etc., exactly what you're doing. Read those over on your own. Mark those next two paragraphs. They are a little, I'll say, very detailed. Look them over yourself. The question is just about, do you use a glottal stop, do you use a T, or what is the order of the two if you use both, etc. And they give you a method to tell if you are letting out air, and that is use a straw put into a glass of water. So if you release a stop, bubbles will go into the water. Read those two paragraphs yourself because they're kind of detailed for what we want to do now. We're going to go on to the next paragraph. It's the bottom of page 63. Okay, next.
My name is Yan Chen. It is worth spending some time.
The last paragraph on page 63.
Oops.
When two sounds.
When two sounds have the same place of articulations, they are said to be homorganic. Homorganic.
Good. Stop there for a minute. The second thing is the word homorganic. We see something in bold. It will be on the test. So just look at those terms in bold and put them in your notes right away, underline them, whatever you do. Homo means same. And ganic is organic, 有机的, having to do with 声. Means they have the same place of articulation. In phonetics, homorganic means they are pronounced at the same place of articulation. So, n, t. Are those two sounds homorganic? Yes or no? N, t. Are those two sounds homorganic? Yes. How about k? No. So make sure you understand and know how to use the term homorganic. Go on.
Thus, the consonants d and n, which
And
which are both articulated on the alveolar ridge.
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 Not it's ridge.
Ridge
Uh-huh.
are homogenic.
Yeah.
For nasal plosions to occur. Plosion.
Right.
To occur within a word.
Within. Right.
There must be a stop followed.
Pause.
Stops followed by a homogenic nasal. Only in these circumstances can there be pressure.
Uh-huh.
First built out in the built.
First what?
First built
Uh-huh.
out in the mouth.
First built up.
First built out.
Built up.
Built out.
Can you link it? Built up.
Built up.
Make a T there. Built up.
Built up.
There.
In the mouth during the stop and then released through the nose by lowering the soft palate. Soft
Palate. Good. Why do I say built up with aspiration? Remember, if we have a T between two vowels, in American it's often pronounced as a tap, but I don't say build up. It would sound like the 现在式. Anyway, this is a 过去分词. Why do I say built up? There's a little sub-rule for the tap rule. A T between two vowels is often pronounced as a tap, especially when the second syllable is unstressed. And in this case, up, is it stressed or unstressed? It's stressed, and that's why we're pronouncing it like the beginning, as though it were the beginning of a word, like tup, tape, top, etc. Built up instead of build up. Because build up, it sounds like it's B-U-I-L-D instead of T. Everyone built up. So when the second syllable is stressed, very often we don't get a tap, we just get an aspirated T. It's not always the case. For example, it sounds like it's stressed. It's pretty high anyway. But we have a tap there. So it is, but built up. Okay, continue.
Many forms of English do not have any words with a bilabial stop. Bilabial stop. P or B, followed by the homogenic nasal at the end of the word. Nor in most forms of English are there any words in which the velar stops. K or G are normally followed by the velar nasal.
Okay, right. I'm going to take over from here. So, what are the conditions for nasal plosion? We have two important things. What are they? Number one, we have to have a stop, and it has to be followed by a nasal. That's the first thing. We have to have a stop, like in hid, followed by a nasal And the second point is, what has to be true of the relationship between those two sounds? They must be homorganic. So remember those two things, a stop plus a nasal. What kind of nasal? A homorganic nasal. Those are the conditions for nasal plosion. It normally happens in English at the alveolar ridge. So the place of articulation in English is routinely the alveolar ridge. Hidden kitten. We don't usually have it with bilabial sounds or with velar sounds. You can, but they're a little bit marginal. Yod and li, y, allophonic. And when might we have them? It gives an example here. For example, open. P and N, are they homorganic? P and N, are they homorganic? No. But if the next word starts with a bilabial nasal, like open my door, please, in that case, it might come out like this. Open my door, please. Open my door, please. It's possible. We won't always say it that way, but occasionally you will hear it that way. Open. Now, is that nasal plosion? Open. Is that nasal plosion? We have P, and then what's the nasal after it? M, right? Are they homorganic? And did we put a vowel between them? No. Is that nasoplosion? Yes, it is. But it's a little bit unusual. 就是偶尔会发生. It's not guaranteed. It just happens now and then. Open my door, please, is possible. And Tim Berge on ICRT, he calls himself Captain Tim Berge. Captain Tim Berge. Captain. What have we got here? Captain. P plus, we've got P, and then we've got T plus M. So we're skipping the T. We're going from P to the N, but he is assimilating it. He's turning the N into to an M. So Captain Tim Berge. That's the way he used to say it. He doesn't call himself that anymore. This is from years ago. But that's an example of bilabial nasoplosion. Captain Tim Berge. Captain. Right? And it's also possible at the velar place of articulation. Oh, we've got another one here. And this is, instead of changing just the nasal, we also sometimes will change the sound before it. Even the manner of articulation changes here. So for 7, if you're counting fast, instead of saying 7, V is not even a stop. It's a fricative. So instead of saying 7, we might count really fast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7, it's possible. I don't like to think I'll do it, but maybe I do sometimes. So then we have another one, something. And this one's common, especially in very casual English and with children. I may have told you about this one before. Something. Something. Something can be pronounced very casually as something. I have something behind my back. I have something. Something. Try it. Something. Okay, we have nasal occlusion there, and it's bilabial. And bacon. For example, if we say bacon and eggs, or no, that wasn't it. Bacon grease. That was the one. Bacon grease. So we've got bacon is got a nasal. Bacon grease. Going from K to the G, we're going to turn that nasal into what? It's originally an alveolar nasal, and we're going to turn it into bacon grease. The K going to a G, what do you think that alveolar nasal is going to turn into? We've got a K, bake, and then grease. There's another velar sound, velar, and we've got a nasal in between it. We'll probably turn that alveolar nasal into a velar nasal, so we can say bacon grease. Bacon grease. And then we've got nasal occlusion. Everyone, bacon grease. Bacon grease. There we go. So that takes care of that. Let's go on to the next paragraph. Next reader. We're going to skip that. We've already covered that, sort of. So let's go on to the next paragraph. I'll probably just have you read half a paragraph. Go on.
A phenomenon similar to nasal occlusion may take place when an alveolar stop t or d occurs before a homorganic lateral l, as in little, yeah. As in little, ladle.
Little ladle. We're done.
Okay. The air pressure built up during the stop can be released by lowering the size of the tongue. This effect is called lateral occlusion.
All right. We've got words in bold again. Watch out. That will be in the test. So we were releasing what was originally an oral stop. Instead of releasing it orally, we released it how? Nasally, right? Madden, leaden. Originally, it's an oral stop, but it's got a nasal right after it. We took the vowel out, no vowel at all. And instead of releasing it orally, we pushed the air back and it came out through the nose. That was a nasal release, right? And then we call that nasal occlusion. Here's something that works in a similar way, but we're not going to reroute the air under pressure through the nose. If it's got a lateral release, from where is the air going to be released? If it's got a lateral release, think about it. A lateral release. Go ahead, Amy. Exactly, from the sides of the tongue. That's where the air will be released. Normally, a sound like T or D is going to be released over the center of the tongue. The air is coming right over the center of the tongue. But if it has a lateral release, there's an L after it, and we don't take our tongue away from the alveolar ridge, and we go straight to the L with no vowel, and the air gets released from the sides of the tongue. That's called lateral plosion. Everyone, lateral plosion. First of all, I'm going to tell you I do not have lateral plosion. And I think many Americans don't. Probably the majority of Americans don't. Some do. But mainstream American does not use lateral plosion in my observation. British routinely uses lateral plosion. It's very typical of British English. And I had to get training in this from my British teacher. And I did it wrong at first, and I'll tell you what I did wrong. First of all, I say these two words like this, little. Okay, don't repeat. Now just listen and tell me what I'm doing. Little, ladle, little, ladle. Does that sound like lateral plosion? No. What am I doing? First of all, I have a tap. I don't have a T. It's a tap. And then what comes after the tap? A schwa. Very good. And then a dark L. Little. That's my normal way of saying it, and I would think probably the majority of Americans do the same thing. Ladle is tang shao, in case you don't know what it is. And I do the same thing, except it's a D, not a tap. Ladle, ladle. That time I did have a little bit. Ladle, 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 ladle. No, I don't. Ladle, ladle, ladle. Sometimes I may have a bit of lateral plosion, but usually not, I don't think. The point is that in American, we don't use it quite so much, but in British, it's very, very common. I would say it's standard. So instead of saying little or little, they say little, little. And Amy thought it was kind of funny. And you can hear the kind of slobbery air coming out the side. It'll get a little bit, there's a little bit of saliva coming out there sometimes. Be careful. Don't get too close to people. So little, little. And you will often be able to see one or both sides of your face. One or both of your cheeks will puff up a little bit. So little, there we go. Little, 两个 一个都可以. Everybody try to say little with lateral plosion, the British way. Little, little, little. You need a little puff there for it to be right. Now, how did I do it wrong? When I first was trying to imitate it, I said little, little, instead of little. That sounds pretty much the same, right? To my ears, they did too, and that's why I did it wrong. But my teacher caught it immediately when I did it wrong. So if you're a native speaker, you'll know something's wrong. It took them a while to think what was wrong. It's just sort of like the difference between white shoes and white shoes. Do you understand? It's a similar difference. A difference of timing. So instead of saying white shoes, I should have said white shoes. It's the white shoes type that works here. So it's little. The T has to go together with the L. And not little. That's what I was doing wrong. So I really have to, I really am grateful to my British teacher because he's got such a sharp ear and he could. It took him a while. He says, what's wrong? It's not right. It's not right. I know what you're doing. And then he fixed it. So, little. I'm sorry, little. Did it the wrong way again. Little. Little. That's lateral plosion. All right, how about for ladle? Ladle. 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 There. All right, that's lateral plosion. We've got, again, are they homoorganic? Are they homoorganic? Yes, they are. Just like with nasal plosion, we have a stop, and we have a lateral approximant this time after it. They must be homoorganic. And there's only one way for those two sounds to be homoorganic. The first sound must be where? What place of articulation? It has to be alveolar because L is alveolar. With nasals, we have three choices, right? It could be or n or n. N. The alveolar nasal is the only common one in American English. But laterals, there is only one lateral. So it has to be alveolar. So it's either T or D plus L. And ladle, ladle. I have a little bit of lateral plosion, but I don't feel much pressure, so I don't know if it counts. So little, I definitely don't have lateral plosion. Ladle, 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 ladle. Okay, I'm sort of half and half on that one, but in British, they definitely have it. That's it. Let's move on. Next paragraph, next reader. Oh, they gave a couple more examples. And there could be lateral plosion in words such as Atlantic. Atlantic. Did you hear me have any lateral plosion? Atlantic. Do you hear lateral plosion? Atlantic. No. If there were, it would be Atlantic, Atlantic, Atlantic. And I don't have it. Let's go on.
Wendy. This brings us to another important point about coronal stops and nasals. For many speakers, including most Americans, the consonants between the vowels in words such as city, better, writer is not really a stop, but a quick tap in which the tongue tip is tongue tip.
Do it again.
Tongue.
No. You're using an alveolar, and we need a velar here. Tongue. Tongue the tongue.
Tongue.
Yeah.
Tongue tip.
Good.
Is thrown against the alveolar ridge.
Alveolar ridge. Everybody remember, alveolar ridge is not a compound noun. It is not. Alveolar ridge. Okay?
Alveolar ridge.
Mm-hmm.
This sound is written in the IPA with the symbol
tap,
so that city can be transcribed as city.
City. Remember, that final Y is always E, never I in American. Never I. At least in my American. All right. Go on.
Many Americans also make this also make this kind of tap when the occurs after a stressed vowel and before an unstressed vowel.
An unstressed vowel.
Unstressed vowel.
Right.
As a result, they do not distinguish between pairs of words such as letter and ladder.
All right, let's stop there, and I'm going to summarize the rest, so please follow along. This is how I say these two words, and I want you to tell me if you think they are complete homophones or not. Are they exact homophones or not? Ladder, 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 ladder. Are they exactly the same? Okay, you can hear the difference, right? You know how to listen now. Even a native speaker would probably say, well, they're the same. I think they're the same. That's what they would do. They're the same. Yeah, they're the same. They're not sure because in Yuya there's something different. And I often had this feeling when I was a kid, like between writer and rider. And in theory, I thought they should be the same because I couldn't describe the difference. But I thought, no, they sound different. But it does sound. I mean, when I was a kid, I thought about these things. I really did. In this case, they're even more similar than writer and rider because writer has what? Canadian raising. Writer. I remember before a voiceless sound, writer, rider. They have an even bigger difference. But ladder and ladder, if I'm speaking quickly, there is no difference. If I'm speaking quickly, they are homophones. If I'm being careful, I can make a distinction. Ladder, first of all, the T is voiceless. So is that A or that A sound before the T going to be long or short? It's going to be shorter, right? So we already know that. Even though it's going to turn into a tap, and is a tap voiced or voiceless? A tap is voiced, but it comes from a sound that is voiceless. So although a tap is in practice voiced, we still have to keep in mind that it came from a voiceless T. So even if I make the voiceless T into a voiced tap, what's going to happen to the vowel? Is it going to lengthen or not? This is important. Make this clear in your notes. So ladder is a 后者. I've turned the T into a voiced tap. Is that A sound going to get lengthened or not? That's the question. So I'll say the tapped version and untapped version together and compare them. Latter, ladder, latter, ladder. And then 梯子, ladder. Latter, ladder, ladder. Now I'm emphasizing a bit, but that's the way it works. If I turn the T into a tap, it's now voiced. But what about the vowel? Is it lengthened or not? No. So that tells us that that tap is a kind of 表面的现象. It's a surface phenomenon. 底层里面它还是 voiceless T. We're voicing it because we've got the tap rule in American. At least most of us do. A lot of us do. But that 心里边 is still a T, and it's still voiceless. So we don't lengthen the vowel, latter. That A is just as short as in latter, 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 ladder. With a real D, we will lengthen the A. But when we're speaking quickly, you really can't hear the difference. Even a native speaker can't tell the difference. And they'll probably ask you to repeat it because they're not sure which one it was. And if you slow down, then you can make it clear. So we already talked about Canadian raising, writer, rider. That's at the end of the paragraph. So we're done with this paragraph. Next reader, please.
Sabina, we can summarize this discussion of stop consonants by thinking of the possibilities there are in the forms of a branching diagram.
Okay, excuse me. Stop consonants. Everyone watch the compound. Stop consonants. Stop consonants. Stop consonants. We're going to be looking at this diagram very carefully. Pay attention, listen, and more important than reading now, I'd rather have you listen to the reader and then look at that diagram carefully to make sure you understand it. It's not that difficult, but you need to sort it out in your head. If you just look at it, it's not going to mean anything. You have to concentrate and listen to the reader. Go ahead.
As shown in figure 3.5, the first question to consider is whether the gesture for the stop is released, exploded, or not. If it is...
All right, let's go to the top of the diagram. We're starting with stops. There are different things that can happen with stops depending on their 语境 and depending on the choices we make. If it's at the end of a word, we have a choice. For example, stop. We can say stop or we can say stop, either one, right? So, if I say stop, where have we gone? We've gone way over to the right, to the box that says, and make sure you say the N, not it's unreleased. All right, so stop, we're done. We're at unreleased. Go on.
If it is released, then is it oral plosion, or is the release due to the lowering of the velum? Velum, with air escaping through the nose, making it nasal plosion?
Nasal plosion.
Nasal plosion.
Right. So, stop is unreleased. We could release it. Stop. In that case, where do we go on the diagram? Oral, 对吗? Oral, please. Yes, thank you. Oral. So there we go. Stop, released, oral. And then we've got two more choices. Let's keep going.
If it is oral plosion, then is the closure in the mouth entirely removed, or is the articulation in the midline retained and one or both?
Retain, pause, 介系词跟连接词前, what should we do? Pause, please.
Retained and one or both sides of the tongue lowered so that air escapes laterally?
All right, in this case, stop. Where have we gone? We've gone from stops to release to oral and then central or lateral? Central. So we've already figured that one out. Stop. Right, stop went to unreleased and it stops there. That's the end of the story. But then for stop, we have stops, released, oral, central. We're done there. But what if we have, for example, little, little? In that case, we have a stop. All right, in little, was it released? Yes, so we go to released. Was it oral or nasal? It was, please don't say oh. There we go. Oral. It wasn't nasal. So that means we have two more choices. Was it central or lateral? There we go. So we've gone from stop to release to oral to lateral. All right, how about hidden? Hidden. We go from stop to, was it released? Yes. Was it oral or nasal? We're done. That's the end of the story. All right? Everyone understands this diagram now? For coronal stops, there's an additional point. For example, little, little. And let's finish the diagram there. So it's a stop. T becomes a D. Is it released or unreleased? Little, little, little. It's released. And is it oral or nasal? Oral, right. And is the release little? Is the release central or lateral? Little. We've already talked about little. And that has what? What do we call that? Lateral closion, right? But now we're doing it the American way, little. So stop, released, oral or nasal? Oral, and now we've got one more choice to make. Is it central or lateral? Central, that's the difference. I have central release. My British teacher has lateral release. All clear? And that takes care of it. We're on fricatives. Next reader, please.
Grace. Fricatives. The fricatives of English.
Remember, we pronounced that with the aspirated K. Fricatives, not frigatives. Okay?
The fricatives.
Fricatives.
Fricatives. The fricatives of English very less than
Very
less
Slow down.
than the stop consonants. The stop consonants.
对吗? Stop consonants, 对吗?
Stop
There we
consonants.
go. Thank you.
Yet the major allophonic variations.
Allophonic.
Not
phonic. Phonic.
Phonic. Allophonic variations.
有个 y.
Variations that do occur.
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 All right, let's make sure we understand it so far. It says that fricatives 的变化比 stops 少. Yet the major allophonic variations that do occur, 就是说它的变化很少，可是仅有的那些变化怎样? That do occur, 仅有. Do you all understand what I'm saying in Chinese? 对，不多，可是仅有的那些是这样子. In that case, we're going to stress the helping verb do. That's a rule. Keep that for the future. Okay? 是很少，可是仅有的那些 the ones that do occur,
are in many ways similar to those of the stops. Earlier we saw that when a vowel occurs before one of the voiceless stops, p, t, k, it is shorter than it would be before.
Then it would
Stop it.
Stops.
Than it would be
Yes.
before one of the voice stops.
Voice stops.
Voice stops.
Voice stops.
Voice stops.
That's better.
But the g. The same kind of difference in vowel length occurs before voiceless and voice fricatives. The vowel is shorter in the first word of each of the pairs. Each of
Everyone
the
write this down because almost everybody says ich in Taiwan. It's each. It's long e. Each.
each of the pairs. Strive.
Good.
Teeth. Rise. Mission. Vision.
Very good. We've already covered this many times. If the sound after the vowel is voiced, then the vowel is longer. That's all we're saying. It works the same with fricatives as it does with stops. Next.
Samantha. Stops and fricatives. Stops
Good.
and fricatives are the only English consonants that can be either voiced or voiceless. Consequently, we can revise our statement.
We can. Watch the end.
We can revise our statement that vowels are shorter before voiceless stops than before voice stops. Instead, we can say that vowels are shorter before all voiceless consonants than before all voiced consonants.
All voiced consonants.
All voiced consonants.
Remember contrast? Okay.
In this way, we can capture a linguistically significant generalization.
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 There's a timing issue there. Instead of generalization, which is too slow, we have to speed up some of the unstressed syllables. Generalization. Still too slow. Listen. Let's tap. Generalization. Instead of generalization, it's generalization. Generalization. You're too slow. Generalization. It has two stresses, actually. I should have put both in them. Generalization. It's getting better. Don't say I. That's more British. We can say it, but we usually say I or Generalization. There we go. That's the right timing. So you have to speed it up when it's an unstressed syllable to get the right rhythm.
Generalization.
There you go.
That would have been missed if our statement about English had included two separate statements. one dealing with stops and the other dealing with fricatives.
So what they're saying is we can make the rule more general. Instead of just saying that a vowel is lengthened before a voiced stop, we can now say a vowel is lengthened before a voiced obstruent. And that's coming up, I guess. It's coming up a couple paragraphs later. We've already learned obstruent, 主音, which includes stops and fricatives. And let's see. The next one is about the same information. So we have similar behavior between stops and fricatives as regards vowel lengths. Let's skip that paragraph. Next one. They're like each other in another way. The degree of voicing that occurs in the fricative at the end of the word ooze. Now remember I think we said that the voicing only lasts about halfway through a final stop. For example, pad, pad. For the rest of the stop, the voicing is gone. And the same is true of fricatives. It's even clearer with fricatives because you've got a little tail at the end with Z. So, ooze. And by the way, what does ooze mean? 就是很稠的一个东西，像那个药膏一样，慢慢的溢出来。That's ooze. Like toothpaste or 药膏，慢慢的这样子溢出来 is ooze. When we say the final z, only the first half is a voice z, the second half is a tail of voiceless. So listen, ooze. Can you hear that s at the end? There's no voicing in the second half of the z. Ooze. We need that voicing in the first half, so please don't neglect that. Don't say oos. That sounds really funny. So ooze. Ooze. So the rule is that if you have a final obstruent, 不管是 stop 或者是 fricative, the voicing lasts only about halfway through. The second half is voiceless. That's the rule. So we've covered that. And we already know the word obstruent. We're on the second to last paragraph on 66. Fricatives do differ from stops in that they sometimes involve actions of the lips that are not immediately obvious. Try saying fin, fin, sin, shin. And we've got lip action in the first word because it's labiodental, f. Everybody say fin. 就是鱼鳍, 它旁边的鳍 is a fin. But do your lips move in any of the other three words? For example, say thin, sin, shin. Everyone? What's a thin? It's thin. Thin. That's better. Don't say thin. Can you all distinguish thin, 薄, 跟东西? Everyone thin. Thin. Beautiful. You're good. Please teach all of your friends. Because most people say it's very thin when they mean to say thin in Taiwan English. So teach your friends. So do we have any lip action in thin, sin, or shin? Yes or no? It says here that most people find they move their lips slightly in any word containing sin. Can you see it in my lips? So, sin, sin. There's not much. A tiny bit of lip action for sin, sin, 一点点. But how about for thin? Any lip action? Thin. Are the lips doing anything? Nothing. So, nothing. For F, of course, we've got a labiodental. For thin, no lip action. Sin, a little bit. 嘴唇的上下的部分那些肌肉有一点紧 not very much. Sin, sin, 有一点点紧，这个地方，这两个地方有点紧。It's very slight. Sin, sin, 有。But how about if we say shin, shin, shin? Look at my mouth. Shin, shin. Do we have lip action? It's often called rounding 圆唇, and that's where a lot of problems come in because in Taiwan English, SHE is often pronounced shu. Many people say shu because the textbook tells us that we have lip action when we say sh, right? But is it shu or shu? No. So in order to distinguish between the two, for u, we'll call that rounding. For sh, we'll call that labialization. Labialization. In Chinese, 唇化. We'll distinguish between the two with 圆唇 and 唇化. If it's 唇化, don't make your lips too small and tight because then we'll get 须 and children instead of she and children. 确实有唇化，肌肉会有点紧 but the lips are not tightly rounded. That's the important thing we need to know. And the same thing applies to je, because it's the same sound, only voiced, je. We call this labialization a secondary articulation. It's a secondary articulation. What's the difference between a primary and a secondary articulation? In the primary articulation, what is our place of articulation for sh that we learned? It's called sh is classified as what? Place of articulation? Everyone? Go. Palato-alveolar. Together? Good. In addition to the palato-alveolar place of articulation, we've got labialization. Which one has a closer approximation? 这两个之间哪一个两个器官靠得比较近 the palato-alveolar place of articulation or the labial place of articulation? In which one do we have a closer approximation of the articulators? One or two? One. There's a much closer approximation of the articulators at the palato-alveolar place of articulation. The labialization, we have something going on there, but the lips do not get that close together. 对不对? So, shh. The tongue is very close to the palato-alveolar area, but for shh, the lips are not as far apart as for, they're more far apart, but for shh, they're more tense and closer together, but not that close together. It's not. So, make sure that you understand the difference between a primary and a secondary articulator. It's decided by in which case the two articulators are closer together. 哪一个两个器官最近，那个就是 primary articulation. 哪一个比较远，那个就是 secondary. Okay? So we've got two places of articulation, but the labialization is called a secondary articulation. Next we're on affricates. And we have some examples in addition to ch and j. Those are our two affricates that are phonemes in English. We also have some that occur in words, sort of incidentally, like eighth. You'll go t, j, th. They're not exactly the same place of articulation, but because of the th, the t will make you stick out your tongue. Eighth, eighth. In fact, I don't have the T at all. I'm just going according to their example. I say eighth, I have no T at all, the eighth one. The T is gone. But if I had a T in there, it would be eighth. We could call that an affricate because although they are not the same place of articulation, the places of articulation are very 差得很远吗? T 跟 TH 蛮近的. They're very, very close. So for some affricates, if the two places of articulation are very close, we can count it as an affricate. So eighth, the T plus a TH, they're close enough. We can count them. But it is not a phoneme. It's not a separate phoneme. It's just 是偶发的一种 affricate. The same with cats. That forms because of the plural ending s after cat. So 吃, it's like the affricate we have in Mandarin. 吃吃吃的吃, cats. We have the same thing in English. But is it a phoneme in Mandarin? 吃吃吃吃的吃, is it a phoneme in Mandarin? Yes, it is. Is it a phoneme in English? No, we've got a T and an S. Those are two different sounds, two different phonemes that came together. It's a phonetic affricate. It's not a phonemic one. It's not a phoneme. Itch badge. That's good enough. Let's go on. Nasals. There's even less variation among the nasals than there is among the fricatives. Nasals together with RL can be syllabic when they occur at the ends of words. And by the way, we have a name for R and L that will come up soon. R and L are a separate class called liquids. Liquids. 因为是很顺畅的响音. In Chinese, they're called 流音, 流水的流, 流音, liquids. R's and L's together form a class called liquids. And beyond that, liquids are often grouped together with nasals for certain allophonic rules. 有时候 R 跟 L 的表现跟 nasal 鼻音很像。So we often hear the phrase liquids and nasals, 因为它们有时候它的表现是蛮类似的。Liquids and nasals. So it says here that they can all be syllabic when they occur at the ends of words, and we put that little mark, that little line under the symbol to show it is syllabic. That means no vowel. If an L, an R, or a nasal forms a syllable all by itself with no schwa in front of it, no vowel at all, then we say it is syllabic. 是一个独自成为一个构成一个音节的一个子音，子音自己构成一个音节是完全没有母音的情况之下 then it's syllabic. So we may have it in words like sadden. In that case, we have a syllabic N. And table, table. In British, more likely, table, bull. Absolutely no vowel, then we have a syllabic L. But I say table. Do I have a syllabic L? Table. No, because I have a schwa there, so it's not syllabic for me. So a lot of the things that you learn from the to write in the KK 音标 is syllabic. 其实我的英文这些不是 syllabic. Little, I have a schwa. Saddle and table. I have a schwa for all of those. In most pronunciations, prism, prison, they often don't have a schwa, no vowel, so those can be considered syllabic. And if it is reduced, and if it comes between two velar sounds, it may become a syllabic velar nasal. Listen, Jack ends with a K. Kate starts with a K. Jack and Kate. Jack and Kate. Jack The and turned into So try Jack and Kate. Jack and Kate. Right. And the last paragraph on 67. One way to consider the different status of ang or angma is that in the history of English it was derived from a sequence of the phonemes N and G, and that's why we write it NG. Originally, it was not a phoneme. It was N plus G together, two different sounds. Over time, they assimilated to each other, 同化了. And then we got the ng sound with no G after it. So at an earlier time, we had sing. 就是唱歌 used to be sing. And sink used to be sink. Sink. 就是一个舌尖音加上 K. Then there was a sound change that turned the N into an angma. So it became sink and sing. Sing. With sink, we kept the K. But how about with sing? What happened to it? We dropped the G, right? We don't say sing, we say sing. Although some foreigners will say that. Let's see how much we have left here. We won't finish today, but we're very close. We're definitely going to finish on Monday. So you need to start preparing for the next test. I know it's test after test. But that's because I was very gentle with you at the beginning. We took a long time at the beginning. And one reason we can save time now is because I told you a lot of stories at the beginning. I took a lot of diversions, 一些支流, because I knew they were coming. And I wanted to save us time later, so I told you at the beginning. So actually we did spend the time, but we just did it earlier than the textbook. It says something about ER here. We deleted the G when it was part of a suffix. For example, when it was either at the end of the word, 如果是词尾的话, then we would just say sing with no g. Or if it was a stem plus a suffix, like So do we say singer or singer? Singer, because is a suffix, it's 词尾, 对不对? But how about in finger? Is that ER a 词尾, or is it part of the same morpheme? It's part of the same morpheme. 它是属于同一个语速, so we keep the G in that case, finger. But I think I mentioned there are 例外. For example, long, the comparative is longer. And for strong, it's stronger. So there are exceptions. There's one more, and I forgot what the third one. Longer, stronger, 还有另外一个 NG 词尾的形容词, I can't remember it right now. However, some speakers of English, both in the UK and in the US, for example, in New York, they will say singer and finger, both. In New York, some people do it, not everybody. 我们那个我姐姐那边的那个婆婆那边的家人，他们有这么念的。At least we got right to the end of a section. So we have approximants and overlapping gestures left. 是稍微有一点点长度, but not much. So you have the rules for English consonant allophones to write out by hand. And someone asked if you have to write out all the explanations after the rules. The answer is no. Only the rules, the numbered rules. 中间那些长的 explanations 不要写. You don't need that. Just the rules. And you have your plot assignment. Start early on it so you can get familiar with plot. It takes a little more time to get used to it. The learning curve is a little steeper than with WASP. It's a little more complex, but it's so flexible, and you can use it for many things. Diacritics, we're going to cover that. Start on the exercises. Let's see, did I write down when all this is due? It's on the website. When everything is due is on the web page. I didn't write it in my notebook. Have all that stuff ready. We're going to have a test on Chapter 3 very soon, so make sure you're all ready. We're going to have to zip through Chapter 4. Chapter 5 is even more important. In 1 year, I jumped to Chapter 5 before I did Chapter 4 to make sure we spent a lot of time on 5 and didn't rush through it. We may take Chapter 5 next instead of 4, so when we're rushing through 4 and not 5. Okay, so we may jump to Chapter 5 next, do Chapter 4 last, so we can, if we get stuck rushing, then we're rushing through 4 and not 5. Do we have any questions at all? Okay, the next chapter probably will be 5. 我大概是做的决定. We'll probably do that again, so we don't have to rush through it as much. No questions? So work on your homework, start early, do a little bit every day. All at once it will be overwhelming, so spread it out. That's it. We will see you next Monday.